Please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and I hope you enjoy. This video contains spoilers of the entire show of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s and through episode 25 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. If you have not watched the shows, please turn off this video and come back after you've watched them. Please note that I will only be using the Japanese names, and will only be going over the sub in this video. I did not watch the dub for Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s or the English version of the episodes of Go Rush that are currently out, so if you're a dub-only viewer, you might be a bit confused. Please also note that whenever I say Yuga-chan, I'm referring to the protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's Odo Yuga. Thank you for understanding, and let's jump into my theory for how 7s and Go Rush are connected. So, what I'm proposing is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush takes place about 60 to 70 years after Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. The reason for this is that there are several characters in Go Rush that are clearly characters from 7s. These characters, who were in elementary school during the main storyline of 7s, are now very elderly. There are also a lot, and I mean a lot, of characters that have the same last names as characters from 7s. I believe these characters are the grandchildren of the characters from 7s. Aside from the Odo twins, but we'll get to that later. The ending from 7s is also part of this. Everyone from 7s, and the viewer, assumes that the person inside of the Rush Duel robot is Yuga-chan. But what if it's not? What if it's Otis? The person inside certainly looks like him, and the Goha President helmet appears to be floating in front of him. So what that would mean is that Yuga-chan repaired the Rush Duel robot and put in a special code. The robot was then hijacked by Otis while they were in the Velgiar star cluster, which is why Otis is in such a Velgiarian outfit upon his return. Otis and the Goha helmet then use the robot to return to Earth, and the special code that Yuga-chan put in the robot activates, automatically restoring Rush Duels when the Rush Duel robot enters Earth's atmosphere. Otis and the Goha helmet continue to manipulate everyone in 7s after the show ends for the viewer. Otis manipulates the Goha President's siblings into stepping down and there only being one president again, who the Goha helmet can control. Since Rush Duels are back, Goha slowly takes away Maxim's infusions. This is because Otis plans to continue his quest to erase all duels, so he wants to try and take away the cards that everyone can use to fight back when he finally does make his big move. Goha also enforces a strict policy that completely erases the lore of Otis, 7 Zord archetype, and Yuga-chan, reinforcing the lie that Goha created Rush Duels. This is why when Goha Yuna plays 7 Zord Magician in Go Rush, no one has ever heard of it. The grandparents of the characters in Go Rush decided not to tell their children the forbidden lore because it's too dangerous for them to know. The characters that had kids are then taken away, due to the Goha helmet and Otis trying to prevent more people from learning about them. Otis does die before he can make his big move. The Goha helmet carries out Otis' wishes within Goha until it breaks down, and somewhere between 7s and Go Rush, Goha undergoes a name change from Goha Corporation to Goha Company. Now, you might be asking, what happened to Yuga-chan? Since the Rush Duel robot was stolen by Otis, he was stuck on Udice's homeworld, the Velgiar star cluster. While there, he told everyone about Rush Duels, and started the legends that traveled down the road a couple generations until reaching Udice's time. Yuga-chan does eventually build another ship to return to Earth in, but much like what happens with Supergirl, his ship accidentally goes through a wormhole, which delays his return until right before the events of Go Rush. Also, the code that Yuga-chan put in the Rush Duel robot to restore Rush Duels triggers a change in the fusion cards that were still floating in space, changing them into the Galaxy-type monsters used by Udius and Zuijo. Some of these cards were collected by Yuga-chan during his journey home. These cards, along with the Rush Duel Duel Disc, were given to Udius by Yuga-chan upon his return to Earth. Also, sometime after giving these to Udius, Yuga-chan had his own deck stolen by Goha Yuna. And since Yuga-chan was stuck in space this whole time, the Odo twins are not his grandkids. His mom was still on Earth, remember? So Yuumu and Yuhi are actually Yuga-chan's grandniece and grandnephew. The grandparent of the twins is Yuga's younger sibling that was born after the events of 7s concluded, and they were not taken away because they didn't know anything about 7s, since Yuga-chan's mom never told them. The world looks so different because of the 60-something years between 7s and Go Rush, and a new Rush Duel is also issued during this time, hence why every single other character in the show besides Udius has a different duel disc than the one from 7s. Well, that wraps up my theory for how the 7th and 8th Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows are connected. What do you think? Am I right or completely wrong? Leave your theories in the comments below.